All right, so make sure that you filled out your table of contents. I'll give you about 1 more minute to get that done. I do want to point out on my table of contents it does say ADV because this is one of my advanced classes. My regular, it says REG. Guys, you do not have to write that there. That is just so I know the difference, because this semester and really until summer, well, yeah, this semester, which is from now until summer, there is going to be more and more and more of a difference between what we do in here and what we do in the regular classes, even down to the homework problems. Y'all are going to have a lot more problems where you have to do more steps, where you have to do a deeper level of thinking, because that's what they're going to be looking for next year. Y'all's homework today is on page 525, really, and page 526. You're going to have to flip it. Guys, you don't start until number 7. Please don't do 1 through 7. Start at number 7. You'll do 7 through 20. Then you will be able to skip all the way down to 24 and 25. There are other problems on these pages. You're only going to do the 7 through 20, skip to 24, skip to 25. All right, this is a great example because my regular classes today, they're only doing 7 through 18. They're not doing some of those higher order thinking problems that y'all are going to have to do tonight. All right, I will tell you guys I did this today during my planning period, which y'all know is just a class period. It took me half the time. So it probably took me about 30 minutes. All right, and the main reason it took me that long was just because y'all know me, I like to write really neatly. All right, and you'll see today we got some of this takes a little bit of writing. All right, raise your hand if you need more time with the table of contents. Okay. All right, while y'all are finishing up, I want to mention Friday. On Friday, we're going to have classwork assignment, which we're going to basically treat like a quiz. But since it's classwork, you'll be able to use your notes. My goal, this is a goal, so that doesn't mean it's going to go this way. But what I hope to happen on Friday is for us to kind of do it like a checkpoint. You'll be able to get it checked as many times as you want in class. But what you have done at the end of the period is what has to be turned in. Okay? So if you want to get each problem checked as you do them, you can. I would probably suggest making sure to work through the whole thing, then get it checked so you can make sure you have time to finish. All right? You're also going to have a formula quiz on Friday. That's actually what we'll start the day out with. The formula quiz. We're going to be doing a lot of shapes, and we're going to be doing a lot of formulas. If you learn them as we go, it's much, much easier. You're going to have 4 formulas by this Friday. Really, we will have them all by Wednesday. All right, I'm going to send out a list of the formulas because some of y'all are like, hold on, there's a quiz I need to start studying yesterday. All right, so I'm going to send out those formulas tonight for you. So if you want to make flashcards, you can do that. All right, one of the formulas you should already know. How do you find the area of a rectangle? What is it, Jonah? Length times width. Guys, if you don't know a rectangle, I'm going to need you to work on that. That's a 5th grade standard. You should come to me knowing that the area of a rectangle is length times width. Today we're going to learn a parallelogram. It's very similar. Tomorrow we're going to talk about a triangle. And when I show you how a triangle works and how they're created, it should make that formula automatic because they're very much related. And then on Wednesday we're going to do a trapezoid. All right? Those are going to be your 4 formulas. I will send them all out tonight for you to practice with, okay? All right, let's start our notes for today. Let me get a paper with it. Might be helpful. All right, so make sure you number this number 1. All right, make sure you have your name on it just in case it gets misplaced, so I will know who it belongs to. All right, area of a parallelogram. A rectangle and a parallelogram are related, aren't they? All a parallelogram is a rectangle that is leaning. All right, it's like the leaning tower of rectangle. That's what a parallelogram is, all right? Because it is leaning, we can't just say length times width. Because when something leans, if you're doing a diagonal, that's actually a longer line. All right? So instead of saying length times width, we're going to say area equals base times height. So A equals BH. And we're going to write that in. And we're going to make sure we say that B is going to stand for base and H is going to stand for height. All right? And something that I noticed today, and I should have mentioned it to my earlier classes, we talked about before, if I use lowercase, you need to use lowercase. A capital B is also used in formulas when talking about volume, and it means something completely different. So please make sure if I'm using lowercase that you are using lowercase. My A is uppercase for a reason. an uppercase A stands for area, not lower. So make sure we have that correct, all right? B is base, H is height. Okay, real quick. Let's see if I can do this fast. I need 2 people. Let's see, I've used guys for a lot of my classes. I'm going to do Ryan and Kaya. Ryan and Kaya, come on down. Come on. Come on. Just remember I love y'all, okay? All right, so you stand here, Ryan, and you here. And we all face each other real quick, okay? All right. So clearly the height is not exactly the same. All right, if I wanted to compare Kaya and Ryan, no, they're the same. They're like the same height, right? I mean, that's clearly working. They're the same height. What's wrong with my reasoning? Raise your hand and tell me, what's wrong with my reasoning going from Kaya to Ryan or Ryan to Kaya? Ryan, did you know you're this tall? All right, what's wrong with my reasoning here? Jake? There's a slant. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. That was it. All right, but everyone's going to remember that now, ladies, so thank y'all very much, okay? All right, there's a slant. And guys, when I'm measuring height, why can I not use a slant? What's wrong with that, Joelle? It's not specific enough because it's not making a right angle, all right? That right angle we're going to see is super, super, super important. So again, we can't use length times width with parallelograms because parallelograms are leaning, aren't they? And can I use a slanted line? No. All right. Raise your hand if your parents, some parents really have it together, like they're like those awesome parents. I didn't have this. All right. If your parent is like, they do the measuring mark for like each year to see how tall you've gotten. You have like a sprite mark. Like I honestly grew up my whole life thinking it was something they only did in the movies. So if you're there, I'm there with you. Okay. So, you do it yourself? See, okay, because I got in trouble if I wrote anything. Okay. So if I want to see how tall I am I going to go like this? No. I want to see how tall I am. Okay. No. You're going to stand up straight, right? So if you want to see how tall you are, you're not going to like lean up against the wall. You're going to stand straight up against the wall. All right? And I'm telling you all this, we use these 2 examples because when you're talking about base and height, it's always going to make a right angle. Not sometimes, not most of the time, not 99.9% of the time, 100%. Always, okay? So we're going to start by looking at number 2. And I want you to look over there in purple. Look over there in purple. All right, because here's the thing, guys. You are able to use your calculator, and we're going to talk about what to type in just a minute. You are able to use your calculator, but can I see what's happening in y'all's calculators? No. No, there are 29 of y'all in here. I have 180 of you guys. I cannot look at 180 calculators at the same time. Can I see what's happening in your head? No. So you have to be able to write down those things for me, okay? So what you're going to do up there in purple, it says you're going to write the formula. You're going to show your work. Now your work is going to look different because we're able to use calculators, okay? And then you're going to write your answer. So for every single problem tonight, I should have at least 3 steps. Your formula, by the time you finish your homework, you're going to be so tired of this formula, you will have it memorized, and you're going to be like, if I never see base on type again, Miss Sawyer. I'm going to be like, yeah, but you know it, okay? I'm going to be so excited, all right? So you're going to write your formula every time. You're going to write your workout every time, which is basically just showing me the numbers, and then you're going to write your answer that the calculator gives you, all right? Guys, I know this formula. I told you already I did the homework. Here it is. Every single time, A equals BH, 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 A equals BH. Not because I need to learn the formula, but because I'm asking you to do it. And if I ask you to do it, I'm going to do it on mine too, okay? So, please, write your formula. Yes? We'll get it at the end of class. Thank you, Jacob. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write out our formula. This is a parallelogram. It says find the area of each parallelogram. Joelle, what is the formula for the area of a parallelogram? We wrote it in the box. A equals BH. I also just said it a million times when I was talking about the homework. All right. You have to write A equals BH. On our work Friday, on our quizzes, it's going to even remind you. Write your formula. Show your work. Then show your answer. All right? A equals BH. So I'm going to write A because do I know the area right now? So I'm going to leave that as A. That's what I'm trying to find. Equals. And then we're going to fill in what B and H are. Now, I'm gonna do this real quick. 26 meters. I wrote in an extra number there because on your homework, some of the problems, they give you 3 numbers. Guys, if it says area equals BH, how many numbers do I need? 2. I just need the base and the height. But they're going to give you 3 numbers to try to trick you. I don't want you to be tricked. So I want someone to tell me, what is a good base and height for number 2? What is a good base and height for number 2? Base and height. Drew, I've called on you a lot, so I'm going to call on somebody else. Okay, but I'm going to come back to you. Kaylee? And what would a good height be?
24.9.
All right, and why would you use those 2 numbers, Kaylee?
Because 69.3 is a straight line on the bottom, and 24.9 is a right angle.
It's a right angle. And guys, it's not just that there is a right angle. Those 2 lines have a right angle with each other. Was the right angle drawn there? No. It was up on the top, but do they still have it? Yeah. Guys, your base and your height have to have a right angle together. Now, here's what I don't want us to get confused. Base, does base mean bottom? If they wanted it to say bottom, they would have said B stands for bottom. They said B stands for base. Guys, your base can be anywhere, and we're going to see that a lot more with trapezoids. All right? But for right now, I just want us to be aware. All that matters, your base can be any of the lines as long as it makes a right angle with the height. Are we okay with that? All right, let's work that out. So we have A equals. All right, and this is where we're going to get our calculator at. Now, guys, I know you know how to work a calculator, but this calculator does some special stuff. So I'm going to show you the wrong way and how to fix some things on your calculator, okay? So if you'll get yours out, go ahead, get it out so everyone go ahead, slide your case. Camera, if you'll slide your case real quick so we don't get a bunch of that noise going on. Perfect, thank you, sir. All right, here's my calculator. I'm actually going to switch these because I think it shows up better. There we go. All right, so I need to do 59.3 times 24.9, right? I know you know how to type this in, but I just want to show you some stuff it can do. So let's say I'm typing in 59.3, all right, times 24.9. All right, what do you notice? Drew?
You put subtraction.
Yeah, I have like a funky subtraction symbol in there, don't I? All right, now normally, if you were doing this, you would have to like redo the whole problem, right, and start all over, all right? Let's pretend that I didn't have, 28 students watching what I did and catching my mistakes. If I push enter, what does my calculator say? Syntax error. Guys, that does not mean there was a mistake in your calculator. That means you did something wrong, all right? I'm not going to tell you how many times last year I had people that said, my calculator messed up. No, sweetie, you did, okay? I messed up. So here's what I'm going to do. I want you to watch. Okay. Shh. I'm going to push clear. All right, and I want you to look. When I pushed clear, it went back to the problem. And do y'all see where the box is blinking? Guys, the calculator tries to tell you everything. It's telling me there's where my mistake is. There's where that weird minus sign is. So all I have to do now, guys, is I can just put the dot, and it's going to change it. Okay? So again, it had the minus, I had the error, right? I just pushed clear. It took me to where my mistake was. So I'm going to push the dot button, like my decimal. All right? And then it changes it for me. Now, you shouldn't have this on you're not making funny mistakes like me, right, Holland? All right? So it's going to change it for me. All right? And the reason I'm telling you this is because sometimes 59.3, let's say I forgot to hit my decimal. I don't have to push clear and redo that. I can just hit that little back arrow and change it and put 0.3 there now. All right? Then we're going to hit times. When you hit times, what type of symbol pops up on your screen? A star. Is that the same as button you pushed? No. Guys, there are a lot of times where the button we push and what shows up look completely different. Raise your hand. Is there anyone in here who's done coding or knows like how computers work? A little bit, some of that, okay? Somewhat, a little bit coding. Okay, let's put your hands down real quick. All right, guys, when you're communicating with the computer, like for coding, all right, what you put in, is that what the computer gives you back? No. If you're coding, you have certain material, you have a certain way you have to type something so that the computer makes it look pretty. then never mind, I'm not even going to talk about that. All right, so basically, guys, what we have to do, I know, you don't care about back in the day, so I'm not even going to go there, okay? So, we have times, and then we're going to put in the 24.9 and put enter. And it's going to give us our answer. All right, now when I write my answer, I'm just going to write it exactly like it is from the calculator, 1,476.57. Now, my calculator doesn't tell me anything about my measurements. What do I have to write next to that? Evan, thank you. Close? Okay. Close. That's what that M stands for. What is that, Evan? M squared. You got to put that 2 next to it because it's now talking about area. Remember, we did our base times our height. We did the meters times the meters. All right, are there any questions on how I use my calculator for that? What I showed on my work? Formula, your numbers that you're using is your work, and then your answer. Guys, did I even need that third number? So on your homework, if they're giving you those slant numbers, do you need them? No. Now, you can't mark in your book, obviously, but we can mark on here. So I want you to put an X through that just so that you know, hey, those slanted lines we don't actually need. All right, and then I want you to do number 4. Once you've done that, move down and do number 4. Number 4. No, yeah, we're skipping it for now. Number 4. What am I going to write first on number 4? Number 4, Joelle? A equals BH. Joelle, thank you so much. Here, remember, you have to start with your formula every single time. All right, I'm going to add another number on here again just to see if I can confuse anyone. So I get A equals, what's my base and height going to be here, Aaron?
The 4 feet and
the 4 feet and the 8 feet. Now, Aaron, you just did something there. I don't know if you even realized that you did something. But that 4, you said that's my base, but it's not at the bottom. How did you know 4 was the base? Doesn't matter if it's top or bottom. What is it that it matters? What does it have to make for it to be the base or the height? Holland? Right angle. All right, y'all can see right there. That makes a right angle, doesn't it? So those are my base and my height. All right? So area equals, Drew, what am I going to write for the answer?
area equals 32.
32 what? Feet squared. And guys, hopefully we can all do this in our head. But I'm not going to lie, and I know a lot of us in here are perfectionists, all right? If I had a homework assignment or a test where I had to do 3 + 2 = 5, and I was allowed to use a calculator, I'm still going to type it in the calculator just to make sure nothing changed, okay? That's just me. I just want to make sure that my math is still the same, all right? If you can check your answer, why not? All right, so if you want to use the calculator to double check that, please do. Should you be depending on the calculator to do 4 times 8?
Yes.
No, you should know that, okay? All right, I'm going to mark out the 10 because the 10 again was on the slant. We didn't need it. Yes, Jay? I'm sorry? 8, do you see how it's on the dotted line? So that isn't actually connected to my parallelogram. All right, that's telling me how far it is from the bottom to the top, which is a height, right? Bottom to top would be the height, yes.
So is the height always going to be on that dotted line?
For parallelograms, there's usually going to be a dotted line. Sometimes they manage to do it without, but for the most part, the height should be on a dotted line. That's a good way to remember it. It's just not going to always be the case. When we get to triangles tomorrow, you'll see where that can change. Okay? Yes?
What is this thing?
We're not talking about that right now.
Height will always be up and down.
It could be side to side.
Okay.
We'll see that on trapezoids. I know, Drew, I'm like really throwing you for a loop, but I promise you, it's going to be good. As easy as this seems today, Drew, we're going to try to keep it that easy, all right? All right, number 1. We're going to go back to number 1 real quick, all right? Now, number 1, step 1 says formula. Hey, Aaron, we're up here at the front. Thank you, okay? All right, number 1 says formula. Number 1 doesn't have any numbers on it, doesn't have anything going on. But the first thing I have to do is write a formula. Well, I know what shape that is. It's a parallelogram. So, Brandon, what's the formula I'm going to write? A equals base times height. A equals BH every single time. It's not very hard. Okay. So now I have A equals. Now my problem is, do I have a base or a height? No. So we are going to have to count that out. And y'all, this is going to seem so silly, but counting has been a little difficult for some people today. So, y'all judge wait till you get started on your homework, and then we can talk more about that, all right? So what I want us to do, guys, we know that the base comes first. Now, we also know the base doesn't have to be the bottom, does it? But we want to pick the easiest thing. And is that bottom going straight across? Yes. So that's probably going to be the easiest base. Could you pick the top? Yes. Yes, but I'm going to pick the bottom right now. So this is my base. All right, y'all okay with that? I just darkened it so you know which line I'm looking at. All right, I want every single person to take your pencil, and I want you to put it at the beginning of the base. Take your pencil tip, and I want you to put it at the beginning of the base. And we're going to count over how many spaces it takes to get at the end. Guys, when you play a board game, do you count the place you're standing on? No. No. So when I count, I'm going to count over 1 space, over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Once I get to 7, can I go any further? No. If you want, guys, because some of these can get long to keep track, I can do little U marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just to double check again, okay? So I get 7 for my base. I'm going to write 7. Now then for the height goes from the bottom to the top, right? So guys, you can pick any line that goes from the bottom to the top. Does that line go from the bottom to the top? So you can pick that line. Guys, I can come all the way out here. That's the bottom of my parallelogram, right? Right there? Isn't that where the bottom was? That's the top, right? If I wanted to, I could do this line over here. Is that even in the parallelogram? No, but does height have to be in it? No. So I can count, let's see, 1, 2, 3. How tall is it? 3. If I counted on the inside, did anyone choose the inside? I can count there. 1, 2, 3. It's still 3. What's the important thing? Do not count the slant. Don't count the slant, all right? So when I write my answer, 7 times 3 is 21. Does anyone remember what measurement I use when I'm talking about a graph? Jacob?
Square units.
Units squared. Units squared. Unit, and then we're going to put a 2, just like when we do feet or meters or centimeters or miles. So it's units squared. So A equals 21 units squared. All right. Now we're going to look at number 3. Are there any questions on number 2 before we move on? Any questions on that? All right. Number 3. What's the formula I'm going to use? Drew? A equals base times height. Oh my goodness, but it has fractions. It's still the same formula. We don't care. All right. So A equals BH. What's my work going to look like, Dylan? Mm-hmm. Oh. Be careful. Make sure you're choosing the base. That, I think, is the going up and down part.
9.5.
Yeah, we're going to do 9.5 because, remember, my height goes up and down. So we want to do 9.5 times 5 1/3. And, guys, I know your answer is going to be the same no matter what. But if someone's looking at your work, you want it to be clear that you know what you're talking about when it comes to base and height, okay? So I get 9.5 times 5 1/3. All right, so A equals. Now this is where that calculator comes in handy, and you shouldn't be typing because we haven't talked about how to do that yet. Okay. All right. So here we go. So make sure mine turns itself off if I don't use it. If you don't like what's in there, you can just clear, and it clears out that screen for you so you're starting fresh. All right. If you only have to push clear once, I end up pushing it like 3 times just to make sure. Yeah. It's just like a habit. All right. Okay, so we're going to type in 9.5. Obviously, we need a 9, so hit the 9. All right, and then your calculator has this button that's a fraction button. All right, and when I say it's a fraction button, I mean you're going to push it for any number that's involved in a fraction. Now, while 9 is not in the numerator or denominator, is it still involved with the fraction? Yeah, it's the whole number. It's part of the mixed number, and that entire mixed number, it makes the fraction. So we need the 9. Your fraction button, do y'all see this ABC button under the probability button? The ABC, that is also our fraction button. So we're going to click the ABC button, and I want you to look at your screen. It makes a little backwards L. Remember how we were talking about computer language versus human language?
Yeah.
There you go. That's that calculator language. The calculator says 9 up, there's going to be a fraction here. That's all that tells the calculator. Is it saying that 9 is in the fraction? No, it's saying that 9, there is a fraction. So we're going to hit 9 fraction button. For 1/2, we're going to hit 1. Then I'm going to hit the fraction button again. Same exact button. And 2. So that's what it should look like. Double check your screen. Make sure ours matches. Does ours match? Okay. Huh? Does someone say something else? Are we good?
Let's just arrow.
All right, you shouldn't have put enter yet. Okay, that's all we're doing right now. I'm not going to enter anything, okay? So we have 9 / the fraction button 1 and then half. All right, so the calculator interprets this because there are 3 numbers there. The calculator knows that's a mixed number. The first one is the whole, the second one is the numerator, the last one is the denominator. All right, I want to show you something. I'm going to clear this out real quick, okay? You just sit there with your calculator for a second. All right, if I wanted to do a fraction like 7/8, is there a whole number there? No, I would just do 7, fraction button 8. That's 7/8. The calculator knows there's no whole number because how many numbers were involved? 2. If I wanted to do something like 3/95, that's 95/3 right there, and the calculator knows there are only 2 numbers, okay? All right, so we had 9 and 1 and 1/2. So 9 1/2 times, so hit your time symbol, get your star. How am I going to enter 5 1/3? Aaron?
You put the 5 and then the A thingy.
The ABC. Mm-hmm.
And then put 1 and 3.
1, and then just 1, 3?
No.
The ABC,
3.
and then 3. So that's what that should look like. If you've done it correctly, when you hit enter, you should get an answer that looks like that. All right, if you are not getting that answer, please raise your hand. I can come by and look and see what you're getting. Oh, you got it. Sorry, but you kind of gave that. All right, we good there? All right. So again, you can see my answer doesn't exactly look like normal. I mean, I'm not used to seeing a U in math, are we? All right, guys, that's the calculator's version of a space. It can't put 50 right next to 2 because then it would look like 502. Which y'all know I've lectured you. That's why we don't even use the slash bar, right? So it's going to be 50, and then that's the calculator's way to put a space, and then we have 2/3. Okay, so we're going to put A equals, I'm going to write 50, and then when I write 2/3, just because the calculator writes a slant, can you use a slant? No. So I have 50 and 2/3, just like that. And what's going to go next to that 50 and 2/3? Aaron?
Square. 2.
Jonah?
Yards squared.
Yards squared. Can't just put the squared without the measurement, all right? All right, are there questions on how to do that fraction button? You're going to have the opportunity on tonight's homework to practice with that. All right, I need us to move down. We're going to move down to number 5. For number 5, it says the area of the shaded region. Area of the shaded region, all right? Now, on your paper, it's probably easier to see the shaded region than up here. All right, but basically what's happening is we have this shaded region, which is all of this rectangle. All right. Now, was all of the rectangle shaded in?
No.
No. What was taken out of the rectangle?
The white part. The white part.
The white part. So guys, I've got to take the parallelogram, but I want to take out this white shape.
And it's not really hard to do.
It's really not right now. Okay, there we go. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
All right. So we have the rectangle, but then I want to take away that other shape, that white piece, that parallelogram. What operation lets me take something away? Holland. Take something away. That lets me split that. Okay, subtraction. All right. So real quick. So what we're going to do, guys, and I'm going to write this in my notes on the next problem. I'm not going to write it out like this, but for right now, we're going to take our rectangle, and we're just going to subtract the parallelogram, because do y'all see how the parallelogram is making a hole? So we want to take that shape out. Parallelogram. All right, now guys, every time you've written a formula before, you've had to put A equals BH, A equals BH. I got a minus sign. If I start putting equals and minuses and equals again, that's going to get really confusing, right? So these are the one type of problem where you don't have to put your A equals. Okay? So, for a rectangle, how would I find the area of a rectangle? What is A? A is, Drew? A equals what?
BH.
Close, rectangle. You can use BH, but what was the original one you learned?
Length times width.
Length times width. And the reason I'm doing the LW here is because there are two different shapes. So it's going to make it easier if there are two different formulas, just to know what I'm talking about. All right, so I have LW minus, what is the area for that parallelogram, Hayden? For the parallelogram. A equals what? BH. So we're just going to put our BH here, okay? So, Bella, I want you to look at this rectangle. So that's the big one going around. And can you tell me a good length and width to use for that rectangle? All right, and then what's my other one going to be? So I'm going to say 18 is my length, so what's the width? 31. All right, are there any questions on where I got 18 times 31? So you'll see how I wrote my formula. This counts as my formula. And then now I'm writing out the work. Minus base times height. What is the base of the parallelogram that's inside? London?
6.
All right. That's that dotted line. Is that on my parallelogram? 13. And then what's the height going to be? 6. All right. Do y'all agree these problems are a little bit longer? So I should probably have a little bit more work. Guys, in order for me to see where the mistake is, if you don't get the right answer, it's because you put something in here wrong. All right? But I need to know if you're making a mistake during the subtraction or during the multiplication. So we're going to type in our multiplication one at a time. So we're going to do 18 times 31. So 18 times 31, type that in and see what we get. We should get, Anderson? 558, perfect. Minus, and now I'm going to type in the other subtraction. 13 minus 6. And what's 13 minus 6 going to give me? Aaron? Drew?
I'm pretty sure you said 13 minus 6.
I'm sorry, 13 times 6. I'm sorry, it says 13 times 6. 78. It is 78. I'm sorry. My bad. Okay, so now I have 558 minus 78, and now I'm down to that last step. When I subtract those, what do I get as my answer? Tyler? 480 what? Millimeters? Squared, because this is still area. That is still area, just instead of being an entire shape, it's only the part on the outside. Okay? All right, we're going to do number 6, just we're not going to write out as much, okay? So, do y'all see where I wrote rectangle minus parallelogram? What am I going to do with these shapes? How is that going to look? Jay? Say it again. We're going to take the parallelogram, which is on the outside, and we're going to take away that inside white area, which is a rectangle. All right, now instead of writing that out, I'm just going to write my formulas. So for the parallelogram, what formula should I be using? Joelle? BH minus, and I don't want to do the A equals on these, remember, because we also had the minus sign. And if I have a bunch of equal signs with a minus, it gets crazy. Right? Because it would say A equals, and then I have an equals, a minus sign, and another equals. And does that sound like any math you've seen before? No, it gets a little crazy. So we're just going to leave them out since we're actually doing math with the formula. Okay? Before we were just finding the formula, and now we're doing math with it. That's your big difference. All right? What am I going to do? So that's my parallelogram. I got to take away the rectangle. What's that formula going to say? Length times width. Okay? So let's talk about the parallelogram. What is the base of the parallelogram? Jay, can you help me out with that? Parallelogram. Not the rectangle, the parallelogram. 21 times 12. All right, minus, what am I going to use for the rectangle, Aaron? 13 times? Times 7. Perfect. All right, so let's work that out. 21 times 12 gives me 252 minus 13 times 7 is 91. Guys, if your first bell, again, turn to my calculators, leave quietly. The rest of the video will be online. All right, so 252 minus 91, what is that going to give me when I subtract that? Evan? 161, perfect. And what's going to go next to that? Inches squared. Excellent job.
Wait, is this squared at every time if we're working with rectangle or...
Take out the white piece. You're always going to subtract that. So sometimes, guys, hey, Cameron and Caden, that doesn't mean that we're talking right now, okay? Because we're still doing notes. All right? Guys, sometimes you're going to have more than one shape inside. So let's say I had a really big rectangle. And then it had a missing piece that was a parallelogram and a missing piece that was a triangle. How many things would I have to subtract? Kaylin?
2 things.
I would have to take away 2 things. I would have to take away 2 shapes. All right? Okay, number 7. Let's look at that one real quick. Did you get the question? All right, number 7. This is the very last one, guys. This one is the most important. All right? So number 7 says, Liam is preparing a 78 square foot plot. You'll see where it says square foot. If it says square foot, what is that talking about now?
That's the area?
This is the area, guys. 78, I'm going to form a little arrow. 78 is the area, all right, for a garden. And the plot will be the shape of a parallelogram that has a height of 6 feet. So we know our height is 6 feet. We want to know what will the length of the base of the parallelogram be. All right? So guys, when it says explain your reasoning, as long as you show your work, you should be good. So first of all, it says parallelogram. What's my formula for that? It's still the exact same first step. What's my formula for that, Lexi? For a parallelogram. A equals BH. So I'm going to write down A equals BH. Are we okay with that? Now guys, this time where it says A, does it tell me what the area is?
Yes.
Yeah, remember it says 78 square foot. So underneath A, I'm going to write 78. Because A needed to be a 78. I'm going to keep my equal sign where it is. Then it says B. Does it tell me what the base is? No, that's what it's asking for. So can I put a number there?
No.
So I'm going to leave it as B. And then it says H for height. So I know what the height is.
Yes.
It says the height is 6. So I'm going to put a 6 in parentheses here. All right. Now, guys, this is going back to that one-step equation. I want to get B by itself. What operation is happening if B and 6 are next to each other, Maddie? Multiplication. And what's the opposite? Division. So I'm going to divide. What number am I going to divide both sides by? Brian?
78 divided by 6.
You're going to divide by 6. And the reason I say both sides is what has to happen to the 6 next to B?
It's going to go away.
It has to go away. So now I see that B equals, and I left B on that same weird side, 78 divided by 6, calculator mode, what do we get?
13.
13 what, Holland?
Feet squared.
Be very careful. I want you to think about that measurement again.
Squared foot.
Give it them toes.
Tyler, explain that.
It would be just feet
Why just feet?
because it's the square foot plot.
Remember, area is squared. My base is just the side. So it's just going to be feet because it's just the length of the side. All right? So that was that last part. All right, guys, your homework, and I'm going to put this up on the screen in a minute, actually. Your homework for my advanced. What number do you start on? 7. You're going to do through 20 in here. My regular is stopping at 18. Y'all are going to go through 20. Once you get through with 20, you're going to skip and go down to number 24 and then do 25. Do you have to do any of the other ones? No. All right. Make sure, guys, you're on the right page. The one next to it? And then push.